Hello and welcome to the Ted Jones World Podcast. A lovely Monday today. Hope everyone had a terrific Monday, or as you're listening to this, maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's in the evening, who freaking knows. So I think I just wanted to get on here and I suppose answer some questions. In person, I'll get a lot of questions about what it's like to be a vegan. What do you do during the day in terms of eating for breakfast? What's the real situation? Okay, so ever since I went vegan, which was probably around like 4 years ago, and like 4 years ago to this day is when I had very invasive jaw surgery. Pop up the picture right here, Ted Jones. So my jaw was broken in 3 places and repositioned just because I had one side of my face that was growing longer than the other. Yes, it's crazy. So I had a TMJ operation, and it was one of the most... I had no idea that it was going to be this invasive and crazy. Like, I went to the orthodontist one day and he was like, Ted Jones, your face is not linear. It is not even on both sides. And I never realized it. Like, I always saw myself in pictures and I was kind of smiling to the side. And I think like the only way you really start to realize something is if somebody, based on your appearance, is if somebody outside of yourself is just like, oh wow, like your face is like a little bit crooked, Ted, or maybe you gained a little bit of weight, Ted. Doesn't that happen to you sometimes? Like, or it's happened to me recently. Like, I've been running a lot outside and I guess I lost like a few pounds, and it just took like till one of my sisters was like, damn, Jones, you look a little thin. And I was like, oh shit, no, I'm not trying to look thin. I got to get the chickpeas and beans in a can. And that's some of the stuff that like I'll eat. You know, I guess we'll go back to this jaw surgery really quick and let you guys know how I got into the veganism thing. But had jaw surgery for like 3 months. After the jaw surgery, I could barely even talk, and let alone eat anything, chew the food. And that like 2 weeks after the surgery is actually when we started the podcast, which is pretty funny. Or maybe it was like around a month after, and like 2 weeks I had texted the producer on the show who was doing the Ted Jones World Podcast, shout out producer Pat. Initially I was like, bro, should we start a podcast? He was like, I'm down, let's do it. We've had an amazing number of guests, but anyway, I keep going back and forth just because like it's almost the 4-year anniversary, and it's kind of almost the 4-year anniversary of being vegan, changing up my whole life. So I had jaw surgery, 3 months. I could barely talk and like move my mouth up and down. My face was swollen. The swelling of my face like didn't really go down until probably like where it was noticeable, probably like 4 or 5 months after the surgery. It was really that crazy. Like even here, I'll keep popping up pictures of me like with the jaw surgery because I don't know how many people have followed in the past. I've talked about it briefly on the podcast, you know, like to guests who will ask like, oh, how long you been vegan? What was the reason you went vegan? But I think the main reason, what it started off like me not being able to even chew chicken. I was a huge chicken with the lunch guy, put it in a salad, put it on a sandwich, whatever. I go to bread and butter. For those of you who live in New York City, I get macaroni and cheese, I get salmon, I'd eat whatever. And I think like it helps now that I have limited options, and it's an easier way for me to stay healthy. For example, let's say I go to a birthday party and I know that there's egg in the cake. Yes, being a vegan, spoiler alert, you can't have eggs. No, you can't have cheese, not even pizza. But I think it puts a cap on what you're allowed to eat, and it just makes you realize like, oh, well, this has this in it, so I can't eat it. And you start looking at ingredients, and guys, the amount of products that just randomly have egg, milk, or gelatin in it. For those of you who don't know what gelatin is, it's animal bones. I think just becoming vegan, it's allowed me to become healthier because I'm not just sticking anything in my body and like looking at the ingredients. I think that this is something that was super foreign to me until I was like literally 27 years old, probably. Like I was just eating everything inside. I was still working out. There were 4 or 5 years after college where I started slowing down my time going to the gym. I was drinking a lot more, and I just felt like unhealthy. There were so many times, no joke, there were like 8 or 9 different injuries that I had just from existing. I don't know whether it's from my diet, whether it's from like quick moves, but I had a torn labrum, torn hamstring, torn groin. This is all just from existing. It was insane. Torn lower back muscle. It was just like, it was injury after injury. I don't know what exactly was the telltale sign of like all of these ailments that I had in my body, but I thought I had what was it even called? I'm happy I don't remember what it was called. That's what it's called. Fibromyalgia. No joke. It hurt like when people would touch me in certain spots. So that was crazy. I thought I had fibromyalgia as a 27-year-old, but I was just eating Big Macs, drinking all the time. I don't know if it was like it was fully based on my diet, but I just wasn't healthy. And I think changing the structure of my face. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking listening. You were like, what, did this guy have a facial disparity that really affected the way that he looked? No, but it affected me. It affected me. But going vegan, let's see. I'll talk about what I do eat as a vegan. I have been eating a lot of Chipotle recently. This is not an ad for Chipotle, but I'll go there, get the white rice, the either black or pinto beans. I'll put the vegetables in there, or I'll put the sofritas. Sofritas being tofu, and then I'll just get lettuce or guacamole, just depending on if I get vegetables or not, because if vegetables are Chipotle, you get guacamole as well. I love how this has just actually become an ad for Chipotle, but being a vegan, you just have to focus on the protein that you eat. Protein coming from the plants, coming from seitan, tofu. I do spend a lot of time eating hummus. Mediterranean food has become some of my favorite foods. But if you guys have any questions like, Ted, what do I eat as a vegan? I want to eat less meat too. I'd say power to you. That's great, especially since you're being nice to the animals. You know, so many people out there, I'm an animal lover, but I eat meat. What's the difference? And then people get on me like, oh, well, Ted, you don't like dogs? Or I do. Like, I don't have a problem with dogs, but like, I never really cuddle with dogs. And ladies sometimes see that as a red flag. Is it a red flag? I don't think so. I can't really see not liking dogs being a red flag. Like, cats are cute, animals are cute, whatever. I'm just not going to eat them. I don't know if I'm going to pet him so much, but I'm just probably not going to eat him. Side note, Wimbledon has been going on for the past week and a half. As you guys are listening to this, I'm watching Chris Eubanks versus Daniil Medvedev. It's tied 1-1 in the sets, but I'm going to go here and say that Chris Eubanks takes it in 5 sets. I mean, something that is unlikely to happen, but we'll see. If he makes the semifinals, good for him. And I think just ultimately, either Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz is going to take the tournament. As you guys are listening to this right now, you already know the result, but hey, I'm just freaking out here. I don't know, predicting the future. If you guys didn't see the 4th annual Ted Jones World Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest vlog behind the scenes, you got to check it out. We had Brittany Griner in attendance. We had Diana Taurasi, and people have asked me, Ted, how did Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner find out about the Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest? Guys, spoiler, I'm going to let you know right here. The team bus, the Phoenix Mercury, showed up to the hotel right around the same time that we were doing the Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest. So while they didn't know at that particular time there was a Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest going on, best believe they did know. And guys, the 5th annual Ted Jones World Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest will be even more of a film. If you guys seriously didn't watch that 4th annual Vegan Hot Dog Eating Contest on YouTube, check it out after you listen to this podcast, because it was a movie. Thank you so much to the Moxie Hotel, Jess, everybody who set it up. It was crazy. There were like 10 people working on the event with me when we showed up. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Today, as I'm recording this, I have jury duty tomorrow, okay? You know what? It serves me right, because the amount of times I've talked about that show, Jury Duty, on this podcast is ridiculous. I must have mentioned it at least 10 times, and look, this came in the freaking mail. I have jury duty tomorrow, okay? It says 9 to 5, got to go down there, and I don't know, like if I'm summoned to a murder, like that would take weeks. I ain't got time for that shit. But I will say there is a bias that the jury people, these people who I guess are summoning me, they don't want people who have bias for a certain case. So let's say some guy gets an electric shock and he's suing the company that has all the electricity that shocked him. The prosecutors might come into the room and be like, hello, does anybody in this room have any connections to somebody who works in an electrical company or works in an electrical company themselves? Which sounds kind of vague, but let's say my pops own an electrical company, then I might have some bias being like, well, this guy who got electrocuted, he shouldn't have been standing there. He should have known the code to be 5 feet away from the electricity. Then in that situation, I would be dismissed. Imagine if the case, though, is about a guy who got arrested with like 10 ounces of weed. Does anybody in here smoke weed? Would anybody have a bias to somebody who has that much weed? I'm like, oh, well, seems like a fresh amount of weed. It is a tree, so let me go. Just my only hope for this, like by the time you guys are listening to this on Monday, I hope that I'm all done with jury duty. And apparently you need to keep this piece of paper. Otherwise, you could be called back. And my dad went to jury duty, lost this piece of paper. And then guess what? 2 years later, they sent him another one and he didn't have the piece of paper. So he was screwed and had to go back to jury duty. But I imagine now, like, why wouldn't they have the stuff in the computer? Is that just another job that somebody from the government needs to, like, watch over? How do they not check off the people who have already done jury duty, man? But hey, guess what? You get $40. This is crazy because when I went 7 years ago, that was the same payment. And there was like a fancy sushi place next to the jury center. So I just went there and spent all of the $40, man. Here, this is what it says. Jurors are paid $40 per day, which is the same amount that I was paid 7 years ago. And I just spent all of the money on a sushi meal, which was like right next to the courthouse. But guess what? I'll just be working on the Ted Jones vlog. And for those of you who've never watched the vlog, I suggest you watch it. They're very fun. At the moment, I'm editing all of this stuff myself. So that's been great. It's been cool to film vlogs and then put it together on the computer. Because sometimes I'll miss things in the vlog, like when I'm filming it. And then it's just great to paint the picture as I see fit at that particular time. We have the Ted Jones Comedy Show this Thursday at the Moxie Hotel, 145 Bowery. Check the lineup and link wherever you guys are listening to this. It's right there, the link tree. But also, I'll pop it up right here. Here's the beautiful lineup. It looks great. It's going to be a great time. 145 Bowery, Thursday at 8 p.m. Would love to see each and every single one of you guys there. And this was me, Ted Jones, coming on the airwaves, letting you guys know the status of my life, the state of the Ted Jones world currently. Looking forward to the 4th anniversary of this podcast, and we're just going to keep doing it because it's so darn fun. Thank you so much, Anchor, for providing support, love, and listeners on this podcast. Guys, this has been the Ted Jones World Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Peace.